Welcome everyone to today's episode of PEPTalk, Productive Environment Podcast. I am Andrea Anderson with Productive Environment Institute. I'm joining you today from Carolina Beach, North Carolina.
And I'm Barbara Hemphill, joining you from Raleigh, North Carolina.
And I'm Michael Whitehouse, joining you from Groton, Connecticut.
Awesome. As you guys can see, we have a fella in the house. And in the world of productivity, just so you know, Michael, we have a lot of women in the world of productivity. So it's nice to be hosting a gentleman with us today. So
it's nice to be called a gentleman. I don't get
right?
that. Clearly, you don't know me that well.
I know. I should reserve that to the end. Let's see. So excited to talk to you today. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest, and then he's going to tell you more about himself. So, you know how many people, and this is so true of so many people, you know how many people hate networking because it feels stressful and sometimes unproductive? Well, Michael Whitehouse, the guy who knows a guy, teaches people to network profitably with ease. Oh, I love that. I love that. Love it. Starting from knowing no one when he moved to Groton, Connecticut. Did I get that right? So, in 2014, he was able to become a major local connector within just a few months. That's great. He later wrote a book called, you guessed it, The Guy Who Knows a Guy. There it is. Awesome. So, Michael, welcome. Can you tell us, you can just tell us anything else you want to tell us about yourself, and then we're going to dive into the 9 questions that you believe every entrepreneur should be answering before they start investing into programs and marketing. I think I'm really excited to hear you dive into those 9 steps, but tell us what you want to tell us about yourself. What do we need to know?
Yes. So I started in the networking space, and some people sometimes ask, why are you so good at networking? And I say, because I'm not good at anything else. If I had graphic design skills or I was great at copywriting or whatever, that's what I'd be focusing on. I don't have that, but I'm really good at meeting people, connecting people, making introductions, building relationships. So that's what I wrote a book about. That's what I got into. And I was doing other things that networking was supporting. I was publishing a magazine before the pandemic, and then the pandemic hit. And the magazine sales were all based on in-person connections. No more in-person networking events, no more in-person connections. Needed to find something else. That's when I discovered the online business space, the online coaching space. And so I got into that, started doing, again, a lot more networking. 2020, I basically committed, I'm going to do my own thing. The magazine was technically my own thing. It was 1099, but it wasn't my own thing. It was the company's thing I was following. So I'm going to do my thing because I'd see opportunities, but like, maybe I should pursue that. Nah, I shouldn't get off the somewhat stable thing I've got. I'm like, throw away the stable thing. Let's go. It's been 4 years of exploration. So I do teach networking to some degree, but over the course of 4 years of networking, I found certain themes. One of which was there's no business 101 out there in our space. Everyone specializes because the riches are in the niches, and specific is terrific. And these are great marketing axioms, except that it means no one's doing the foundations. Everyone's doing something specific, which is great for all of them. But not great for people getting into the industry who are like, but I have 37 small questions. I don't have one big question. I have 37 small questions this week. And I was so I was doing a coaching call with someone, and she was saying that she was in actually multiple 5-figure programs. And the guru in one of them said, your lead magnet, that name, that's no good. You need to change the name of your lead magnet. Now, I can't go into too much of what she needed in her business, but let me assure you that the top 5 things she needed to work on, none of them were her lead magnet name. Top 10, top 20, don't think it made it into those either. She needed to work on a bunch of stuff, and maybe someday she could tweak and optimize the lead magnet name. But people get so fixated on these random things. That's why they chase shiny objects. They don't know what to do. So I sat down and I said, I wonder if there's like a core set of questions that we could create. And honestly, I was expecting that I'd come up with 36 questions and group them together and whatnot. I sat down and basically downloaded 9 questions. And I looked at the page and I was like, someone smarter than me came up with this. I'm glad I could be a conduit for it. Because it's 9 questions in 3 sections, and it's basically the core. And actually, I can even bring it up behind me here. It's basically the core parts of a business. The first set of 3 are who are you? The second set of 3 are what's your product? What do you do? And the third set is how do you get people to buy it? And most entrepreneurs are missing one or more of these questions. And if you're missing the answers to just one of them, it's going to throw you off. A lot are missing the answers to 4, 5, 6 of them. And so they're like, I'm lost. I don't know, because they don't know there's questions. They just know they need something. And so they hear a great speaker, or they attend a webinar or a workshop, and they're like, oh my goodness, this person, she is so successful and charismatic and confident. I want that. I'm going to buy whatever you're selling, because hopefully that's in it. Because that's how I bought the first few courses I took. I took a course on email marketing before I had a product, before I had a target audience, before I had anything. But the woman who was teaching it I wanted to be like her. I wanted to buy just a bit of her essence, and I was hoping it was in the course. It wasn't. Email marketing was what was in the course, because it was an email marketing course. She sold exactly what she said it was. But so I think so many of us chase after, we want that energy or something, but I didn't know what I was missing. So I chased after. I've spent thousands. I talked to people who spent, I polled people and said, how much have you spent on the wrong courses? Not bad courses, good courses, just not the right one. And I got answers that range from $500 to $40,000, chasing after this, elusive mystery, shape in the mists. And so I came up with these 9 questions because at the simplest, if you just look at them and go through them in your head, you can say, who do I solve it for? I think I've got the rest. But, and one of the biggest things, and you probably know this, I'm sure you've run across this before, rarely is it a leads problem. So I talk about so question 9 is leads. How do you engage? How do you get them into your audience? Question 7 is once you got them in front of you, what do you do with them? Most people have a question 7 problem, not a question 9 problem. But if you sit down and just go through the question, like, how do you engage prospects? Well, I've got Facebook, I got LinkedIn, I got my email list, I run summits, I run giveaways. Well, you're probably good for that. You just answered it with 5 answers. Maybe you don't need a 6th answer. Once they're in front of you, how do you sell them? Well, I kind of talk to them and then they leave and they don't buy. That's how I sell them. So that's where a lot of people are at. And so the questions, without needing a complex coaching process, you can simply go through them and say, I don't know. Hey, how do you sell them when you're in front of you? I don't know. I kind of talk to them and sometimes they buy, I hope. Well, that might be an area for improvement. How do you solve it? Or what problem do you solve? That's a big one. A lot of people, they say, well, I have a 6-week program that teaches, the fundamentals of underwater basket weaving. And then we have a Zoom, Zoom call and a Telegram group and da-da. Okay. But what problem do you solve?
Right.
Because people don't buy 6-week programs, they buy solutions. And a lot of people, again, they don't answer that question. So
let me ask you a question, if you don't mind. Are you, because we're systems people, as you may know, with productivity systems. So if you wouldn't mind, if we may have people just listening and not seeing what's behind you. So if I put up on the screen each of the questions, can you just address them briefly, and we'll just go through all 9 and then discuss?
Absolutely. All right. So question 1 is, what are your values? Because your values are what drive you and what inspire you. And these 2 things are important. If you're not aligned to your values, you're going to have trouble finding success. So if you learn a marketing strategy that feels like lying to you, you're not going to be into it and it's not going to work. But also your values, anyone who tries to manipulate you, if they know your values better than you, if one of your values is recognition, because there's values we know, love and charity and family and philanthropy and contribution. Those are values, but recognition, ego gratification, luxuries, comfort, ease, those are values also. So if ego gratification is one of your values, like, I need to feel good about me. I love hearing people say, oh, you're awesome. If that's one of your values and you don't admit it, you can be flattered and not realize it. So that's 2 reasons it's crucial to understand your values. And a quick exercise, there's all kinds of exercises for learning your values. Simplest one is write down all your values you can think of. But the next level exercise that I find very powerful, think of your highest value, at least what you think it is, and then ask yourself, under what circumstance would I violate this value? And it's usually going to be an extreme edge case. terrorist, alien invasion, war, life and death kind of things. But as you get into that, you're like, okay, there's some situation, authenticity and honesty I consider to be my highest value. But there's definitely situations where I would be dishonest if being honest might result in, someone dying, the United States falling to Russian invasion or something. Yeah, I'd lie for that purpose. So there's a higher value for that. And so it's important to understand that. So ask yourself, once you have a sense of your values, for your highest value, what would make you violate that value? And your quick answer is going to be nothing. And then go to the second one and be like, nothing?
That goes deep. That takes you deep. All right. Number 2.
Okay, 2 is, what is your big goal? And this is the big goal. This is, once you've completed all your goals, what do you have? So this is not, I want a 7-figure business. Pro tip, if you ever find yourself saying, I want to turn my 6-figure business to a 7-figure business, that's not your goal. And how do I know? Because no one ever woke up one morning with $999,000 in revenue and was miserable and sad. But the next month they had $1,000,001 and were happy and everything was solved. Thus, that arbitrary number isn't it. But your big goal is, I want to be financially free. I want to live in a big house. I want to be famous. I want to, my kids never worry about money. Whatever that is, it's qualitative, not quantitative. The next one's quantitative. It's qualitative. It's, what's that life look like? What's that big picture? And this is important because if you don't know this one, you're going to chase the wrong things. If you're big, I spoke to someone once. One of her things she valued was working directly with all her clients. She never wanted to be farming clients out to coaches and recordings and whatnot. She would like to work with them. Then she told me she wanted to turn a 6-figure business to a 7-figure business. I say, you can have one of those or the other. You can't have both. And then she had some specific financial goals, but when she actually did the math, it took about $650,000, not $1 million, which actually you can jump to question 3 because they kind of go together with this. And as it turned out, so question 3 is how do you measure it? How do you know when you're successful? In other words, question 2 is qualitative. Question 3 is quantitative. When she did the math, she realized she only needed like $650,000 for that requirement. And then she did a quick look at her numbers from the previous year and realized she was $50,000 short. And then she looked closer and realized she'd spent $50,000 on programs to turn her 6-figure business into a 7-figure business. So if she just hadn't spent that money on those programs, she'd already be there, but she hadn't actually sat down and said, where's my finish line? So she was running full speed and the finish line was 100 yards behind her.
Wow.
So that's why it's crucial to know, what is your big goal and and I like to say, what is the measurement of the most likely path to it? Because if your big goal is to live in a mansion, one way is to be able to buy a mansion, but there's other ways. You could become an artist in residence if someone already owns a mansion. You still live in a mansion, right? But the most likely way is the answer to question 3 of how do you measure it is kind of what's the quantitative measurement of that big goal.
Well, and I think one of the things that's interesting with that is that you can't change what you don't measure. And so many entrepreneurs, I mean, I was guilty of that for much longer than I care to admit. It's like, okay, as long as I'm moving ahead, it's okay. But you really have to, which is why on Shark Tank, if somebody doesn't have their numbers, that they don't have a chance.
Yep. They're wandering the wilderness. Yep. Yeah. Can't change what you can't measure.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely.
All right. Number 4.
So now we're into the second set. Number 4 is, what problem do you solve? And you'd be amazed how many times I ask this question and someone says, well, I have a 6-week program that. Nope. 6-week program is not a problem. I mean, unless it's a really bad one. Maybe you get people out of 6-week programs. I don't know. But, things that aren't problems. Losing weight is not a problem. Making more money is not a problem. 6-week program is not a problem. Problems are, I can't lose weight. I need more money. And fundamentally, problems often break down into not enough money, not enough time. There's 5. Let's see if I remember all 5. Not enough money, not enough time, not enough happiness, not poor health, and fear of getting in trouble / going to jail. That's not an exhaustive list, but basically most problems break down into one or more of those 5 categories. So, organization is probably a bit of not enough time and a bit of not enough money.
Well, yes, true. And disorganization and overwhelm can lead to what you just said, the not enough time, not enough money. And even further, we have a lot of clients that maybe when they first meet us or they hear about us, they're like, oh yeah, that's great. Not for me. But then something happens. They lose a check, or they lose their tax, something for the IRS, or they lose something gets lost in the mix, or they miss a really big opportunity because they didn't follow up on that prospect that they had, things like that. Then it's like, okay, now it's a problem.
Yeah. And that's why this question is important, because if you lead with, we help people get organized, they're like, I'm organized enough.
Exactly.
If you lead with, we help people not to lose that check or that vital document, they'd be like, I don't want to lose that document, because they could totally picture themselves doing it. And so, that's why you lead with the problem, not the solution, because people know their problem.
Right.
Now and the one we're seeing now that's really coming out is we help people not leave a mess, a cluttered mess, for their family or their business partners. Because when it comes to clutter, most people are not willing to do it for themselves. It's hard, and nobody wants to do it. But we're all more willing to be accountable to someone else than we are when we are ourselves. So when we talk to people about, is that a mess you want to leave for your kids or for your business partner? Then it's like, oh, I think I do need to solve this problem.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's it. It's tying into a problem. People are like, ooh.
Yeah.
That's it. And then question 5 is, how do you solve it? So now that you know what the problem is, that's when you get into how do you solve it. And there's 2 parts of that. There's the actual method. There's the delivery method, and then there's the system. Right. So the delivery method is 6-week program, Telegram group, live coaching, recorded courses, book, PDF, whatever. Some people want to know that, especially if they're more either jaded and burned or just high C in the disc profile. Like they want to know how you're going to do it. But then what are you going to deliver? So like in my program, I run a Foundations Inner Circle. And what I'm delivering is the knowledge accumulated over meeting thousands of entrepreneurs and running over 500 interviews. And, the knowledge that has led to these 9 questions. And of course, my network that I can then call upon. And so you might hear that, be like, cool, like plug a USB port into your brain and into mine, or how are we doing this? So then the how of that, which is the other part of question 5, is we do a weekly live call. We do a Telegram group. We do, access to all the recordings from my summits, things like that. But so that you need both of those parts, because if you're just I'm sharing my knowledge, be like, great. Because I'm sure many people have probably encountered programs where that part's clear and they buy in, and then it turns out it's a series of PDFs on a website. And you're like, wait a minute, this felt a lot more hands-on in the webinar. And now it's a bunch of PDFs on a website. I'm doing it all myself. What's going on? But at the same time, if you just talk about, this is going to be great, you're going to join me every week for a year for an hour, and then you can use a Telegram group and you ask me questions, be like, okay. People want to buy the vacation, not the plane ride. So, but at the same time, they also want to know how they're going to get there.
Yeah.
We're not driving to Hawaii. I'm not paddling a boat to Hawaii. Is there a plane involved in this? So, because there's definitely some programs out there that are a vacation in Hawaii that don't come with a plane ride. So you need to include both parts of the how, which is like the fun stuff and also the execution in balance. And some of this also is you need to have the answers. So sometimes some coaches have that clarity on what they want to deliver and not the how. That's something I've fallen into in the past. Like, I have this information. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then how do I transmit this information? So you need clarity on both what it is you're sharing and how you're delivering it. And then question 6, if you're clear on 4 and 5, 6 tends to answer itself. So often the whom do you solve it for is a rephrasing of the problem. So, if the problem is that entrepreneurs are going to leave a big mess for their partners or kids, the whom would be entrepreneurs who have partners and kids and a big mess, because it's simply rephrasing that same question to the who. And a lot of people, I think, fall into the trap of demographics on this. You don't want demographics, you want psychographics. So it's not, women 48 to 63 who live in urban areas. Like it could be men, it could be women, they could be 20, they could be 60. It's a question of what is their identity. Like with my Foundations Inner Circle, my target audience is people who run into a lot of little questions. Now, the obvious one for this is newer entrepreneurs, but there could be someone 5, 10, 20 years in business. Things keep changing. You might have had it all down until a year ago, and then ChatGPT came along. What the heck is that?
Think that's, Michael, I think that one is so good, because one of the things about when you've been in business a long time, sometimes your pride gets in the way of asking for help. It's like, why would she be asking that? She's been doing this forever.
Yeah.
But it constantly changes. So I think that's a really important one.
Yep. Yeah. And so that's the psychographic, is people who have a lot of little questions. And you always need those little, those little answers. There's always little questions out there. And it's interesting. Yeah. Because I'll meet people who are really experienced they've been around 10, 20, 30 years, and they have trouble texting. Forget Zoom, texting. They have trouble attaching documents to emails, like just stuff that to me is like breathing. Partly because I'm a geek. I mean, I'm younger than many of the people I'm talking about, but not always. But I'm also just a geek. My first business out of college was running a game store. And then I started a science fiction convention. So the idea like when ChatGPT came out, it was a little bit, this is a cool business tool. And a lot of, I've been reading about this in science fiction novels for 30 years, and now I have one. So I was, of course I'm going to play with it. And then, people say, oh yeah, I wish I had that widget on my website, but I don't know where to find it. And I'm like, ChatGPT it. Like, what? Oh, right. Yeah, you're not. Okay, let me catch you up. But the one of the things I found with my audience is, so like the first course I took, $700 email marketing course, I could summarize everything I learned from it in 15 minutes. Now, you want to go deeper, you want to build a 10,000 person list, you want to make high converting, that kind of stuff, that's going to be deeper. But that wasn't in the course. The course was how to build your first 1,000 person email list, and then how to use it, how to have a list at all. I could teach that in 15 minutes. But then next week, you're going to also need to know how to create a course and how to outline it. Well, I took a $500 course on that I could summarize in 15 minutes. So the problem I found is, you don't need a $700 6-week course. You need a 10-minute explanation. Someone recently, one of the questions in the group was, what is the standard commission rate on joint venture stuff? Just basic stuff. Like, what's the normal percentages you see? Is 20% a lot? Is it a little? Will it insult people? Will they laugh at how much money I'm giving them? I don't know. So it's just those little questions. And you're not going to go join a $1,000 JV program that teaches you everything about JVs. All you need to know is it 30% or 40%? Like that's your question. But then you end up joining because you can't find anyone to ask, or you ask. Half the people don't know what they're talking about and just spew answers because they feel good. And the other half of the people are selling you something, so they give you an answer that implies you should buy from them. But either way, you can't trust any of the answers. So that was the problem I found in that community. And I don't know if I got to be talking about myself here. Oh, because I was talking about who I solved it for.
Yeah, I have questions for you about that, so I want to circle back. But let's go. We'll continue, and I'll hold my question. But I do have a question for you.
So I can go through questions 7, 8, and 9 all together, because it's how do you sell it? So these are the ones I've had the toughest time wording, but it's a funnel backwards. So question 7 is your prospects in front of you. How do you get them to take action?
Right.
You're in the conversation, one-on-one or group, you're there. Question 8 is, how do you get people into that conversation? And question 9 is, how do you get them in the top of your funnel into your audience so you can invite them into that conversation?
Let me. I don't mean to interrupt you. Maybe you were going to explain it. Why did you do it in that order then, instead of the other way around?
Because you should plan in reverse and execute forwards.
Okay.
Because here's what happens. People plan forwards and execute forwards. I need to get leads. Leads lead to sales, right? So I'm going to go find leads. Facebook gets me leads. Let me do that. Email gets me leads. Summits gets me leads. Giveaways get me leads. And you have people with 5,000 person email lists saying, I need more leads. Take the size of your audience, divide it by 50. If you don't have that many customers, you don't need more leads. If you have 1,000 person email list and you haven't sold 20 of them, you don't need more leads.
You need
get into conversations with people on your email list. Right. But so that's why it runs that way. But also getting leads is the easier part. I love running summits. Summits are super fun. I run about 27 summits a year.
Wow.
Because I have it systematized. That's how I can run 27 summits. It takes me, I think it takes something like almost an hour to set one up. Then I need to get the speakers, manage them, whatnot. The total time it takes, include the summit itself is 6 hours. The total time it takes is probably 10 or 11. But actually, like, to get it onto the websites, there's an application open ready to receive people, is a little under 60 minutes because I've got a system. I've got templates. It's a lot of like copy, change this one paragraph, because they're all the same format. Right. So the applications are the same. And
so we love the word system. We use the acronym, saving you space, time, energy, and money. And you just illustrated it in a fantastic way.
Yep.
Because I suspect some listeners, to hear you say that you could do that many summits a year, would just blow people away.
Yeah. And there's that's a question 9. That's top of the funnel, getting people into the audience. And it's fun. I like doing it. I'm an extrovert, as you can probably tell. So I love everything. And, the actual sales stuff, that's not as much fun for me. I got people, get them on a call and then convert them. And that often happens, making Facebook posts. That's fun. Sharing opinions, making a video, TikTok, So I think that's why we often get drawn into the top of the funnel stuff. And then we're like, I'm not making enough sales. I must need more leads because I must need the fun thing, not the hard thing. But part of that's because you haven't thought about what the sales process is. So you haven't thought about, if I did get on a call with someone, what would I say? So when you do get on a call with someone, it's like, tell me about yourself, I guess. I have a program. You want it? No? Okay, bye. So if you have a clear, how do you sell it answer? And you're like, well, if they get on, I'm going to ask them these 7 questions that leads them down this path. And then once we get there, they're going to be excited because they're the right person. And then I'm going to be able to help them. We work back upwards, Then I'm going to be able to help them because I solve it this way because they have this problem. And that serves my values of authenticity and contribution that I want to serve people. So these are actually, all 9 of them are in order for a reason.
Right. And then they go back up.
Yeah. So we start with, how do you sell it so that you're like, you know what? If I get a call with someone, I'd be psyched to talk to them because I'd be helping them with their problem. And now once you're in that mindset, okay, well, I do have some communities. I've got a Facebook group, or I've got an email list, or I've got a circle of friends or whatever. If I could get that close, how would I then draw them into a meeting? Would I send them a calendar link? Would I invite them to a weekly webinar? Would I run
Those are the little questions you're talking about. Those are the little questions.
That's your question 8 questions. And then question 9 is how do I get more people into that universe where I can reach? And so that's why it's in that order.
I love it. Yep. So, all right. So you've got the 9, you covered the 9. That was great. So let me ask you, you mentioned a couple of times that, people could go pay and, thousands of dollars for a course, but they just have a few questions. So how do you solve that problem differently than selling a, say, $10,000 course or $10,000? I mean, I don't know if you do or not, but like,
I don't.
How do you answer those little questions then, and don't give them the big thing, but give them the little things that they're asking for?
Well, yes. So what I do, I sell a $100 a month program.
Okay.
Because to me, again, this is the authenticity being your highest value is a good thing and a bad thing. If I'm selling someone something that is life-changingly expensive, which a $10,000 course for a lot of newer entrepreneurs, like that is, they are putting their lives in your hands. You better be 115% sure you can deliver 100% of the people who buy it. I'm not that confident. So I am sure I can deliver value, but then there's all kinds of other factors and whatnot. So I'd rather, I'm a community builder. I'm a networker, right? The guy knows a guy. I'd rather have 100 people paying me $100 a month than 10 people paying me 10,000. I think that's the same total. Because that's building a community. They can serve each other, and I can give that first answer. Most people, that's what they need, is a first answer. They need that 10-minute explanation of, set up with Kartra, or here's the platforms I've used. Which platform? Well, I know this about Kartra, I know this about Kajabi, I know this about Go High Level. It's a starting point. And then when they're like, okay, well, now I want to build a high converting funnel. I want to build a funnel to end all funnels, and that's going to be the core of my business. Well, I don't know how to do that, but I'm the guy who knows a guy.
Yeah,
Then I'm going to bring in a guest. So somebody says, hey, I really want to know about how to build high converting funnels and the system technology and everything. Then I'm going to bring in someone, like maybe Amanda Bea and Justin Keltner. I bring them in to speak as guests, and they'd talk about it. And I'd say, these are good, honest people I know. If you vibe with them, then you should work with them. And if not, I know other people. I'll bring in more people for you. So I'm that first step, that foundation. I should call it the foundation inner circle. Oh, wait, I do. So that'd be the foundational knowledge of just that first step of, this is what a funnel is. Because I was in business 2.5 years before I actually knew what a funnel was. Everyone talks funnel, funnel, funnel.
Right.
And finally, somebody explained, like, a funnel is just from they're a stranger to they're buying something from you. Everything in between is your funnel. I'm like, what? I thought it was like a technical thing with computers and email sequences, and that is a funnel.
Part of it, yeah.
But that is not what a funnel is. A concept of from stranger to customer, and the funnel is the path in between. So, just basic stuff like that. So I give that foundational knowledge, and then they say, okay, well, I need someone to come in and get me organized. I need someone to write my copy for me. I need someone to manage my social media, someone I can hire VAs. And through my network, I have a community of trusted and mostly vetted people, and that I can hold them accountable. Because that's the other thing too. You go to a networking event and you meet someone, or you find someone, God forbid, through a Google ad or a Facebook ad, you're on your own. If they're not if they don't treat you right, if they're not delivering quality, if it sounded like it was going to be this, but it's actually that, what are you going to do? Complain to Facebook? They don't care. Whereas if one of my clients says, hey, I hired Bob, and Bob, it sounded like it was going to be a lot of one-on-one coaching, but it's really just these group things every other week with his assistant who doesn't know anything. And I'm really not happy with that. Well, I'm going to get Bob on the phone and be like, listen, Bob, I referred you. I put my name on the line to bring you into my program, to introduce you to one of my people who trust me, and they're not happy. So we need to work on this. And by we, I mean you.
Yeah.
If you want continued access to my community, I'm going to need you to take care of my people.
Yeah.
So it creates that third party leverage. And honestly, any networker can do that. It's not like I have this magical ability, but I built the network because not good at anything else. So I just network all the time. So I spent 4 years meeting all these people, and now I can leverage that for my clients, my community.
I love it. So that's your main thing, is you truly are the guy who knows a guy. And people pay a membership fee to be part of your community and get referred back and forth to guys and gals who need. Okay. So that's so interesting. When Barbara, when you started the certification program for our consultants, we have a team of certified productive environment specialists. So I remember when I came into your program, Barbara, you taught me everything you knew. You downloaded your brain into mine and the team of people that I took the class with. And it was fantastic. And I was like, now I know how to go organize people the way Barbara organizes people. But then I got home, and so I think I was a lot like your clients, Michael, where I left the training feeling confident to do the actual work of the organizing. But I was like, oh, how do I get clients? Pay me money. And so I went through this process of trying to learn, and here's a coach for this, and here's a training for that, and piecemealing. For years, we duct taped our technology pieces together to, this is the website platform, this is the email autoresponder, and all of those things were just duct taped together for years. And then as time went by, we were doing the same thing to our new clients, our new specialists that were coming through the training. We're like, oh, now that you're certified, you need to go get a website. Well, what kind? I don't know. And you need an autoresponder email series. Well, how do I do that? I'm not sure. But that's what you need. So we're just sending them out there. So now our certification program includes all of that. Like through the years, we're like, okay, we need to give them what we need, what I needed. And so we've built around that. And now we do give specific, here's what you need and here's what we've used. That's something interesting, Michael. We have found we try to be open with our clients, not just our specialists, but the business owners who want to be organized too. Where we say we don't try to tell people to do everything the exact same way. We say, well, it's not what should you do, it's what will you do. But we found that they want to know what we do. They want to know what we would do and what we would recommend, and then they can take it and tweak it from there. So it's just been an interesting journey from here's what you need and go take a course and go do this. And now we were like, we packaged it all up together to like, here you go. Now. But there's still the need for the website designer and the copywriter. There are those other pieces that are still needed. We don't do that part, but we now know a guy who knows a guy. Yeah. So we will.
Well, and that, your first question was about what are your values, and one of our values is together we are better. This is so much. The world is so complex. That nobody has all the answers. And I'm thrilled to have you on, Michael. I mean, this is really awesome. And you're an example of so many things that I value. The reinventing yourself, which in the entrepreneurial world, that's something you have to do too. You constantly reinvent yourself. And then I was thinking about, you keep mentioning the word little questions. And I was thinking about little questions get big answers.
Yep. And little questions are also big stumbling blocks.
Yeah.
I've met people who have been in business for more than an hour, which is about as long as you should be in business without having an email list. Not a big one, but like one set up. If someone's like, I'd like to join your email list. And you're like, oh, I don't have one. Well, if you like file your LLC, get your email list set up, you should probably do that. And I've met people who've been in business for multiple years who don't have an email list set up. Now, I know a couple people who are like, I don't like email because I don't want to get them, so I don't want to send them. If it's a philosophical choice, that's one thing. But if it's I don't know how to do one.
Right.
Well, I can fix that for you in about 3.5 minutes. And you half of your business funnel is not working because you don't have a basic email list. Everyone is kind of coming into your universe and falling back out because email is how you stay in touch with people. Exactly. Or you're on social media and you are hoping that Zuck and Congress don't decide to,
shut you
make
down.
the castle fall down into the swamp. All of a sudden, there's people whose businesses depend entirely on TikTok, and they are, chewing their nails down to the beds right now because they don't know if they're going to be out of business in 2 months.
Well, Perry Marshall, who's one of my respected coaches, and he just saying, a lot things are going to come and go in platforms, but I don't see email going anywhere. And so, which gives a huge opportunity for what we do, because email is without a doubt one of the biggest productivity sucker that there is. And we have figured out a way in a very short period of time to help people with that. So it's really, so thank you so much, Michael, for joining us. You've given us so much valuable information, and obviously we are happy to know you.
Yep. Oh, that's not the right link.
Oh, it's not the right link. Okay, let's take that link off.
Because that technology stopped working for some reason.
Oh, it did?
Yep.
Okay, that's what we had. Yeah.
Guywhoknowsaguy.com/map ebook.
Okay, guywhoknowsaguy.com. That's the easy one. Okay. Yep. All right. So this is how they can get onto your email list, and you've got a resource for them. You want to tell them about that?
Yes. So if you go to put /map ebook at the end of that, you'll go directly to it. On my list of things to do is to make it so it's the main lead magnet on the page, but that's in the future. And if they're watching it live, it hasn't happened yet. If they're watching it recorded, it may have already been done. But what they would find there is the 9 questions, ebook, and I gave it a very clever name that I can never remember for a specific reason. The official name of it is Michael's Awesome Lead Magnet, which gives you 9 foundational questions for your business that you should be able to answer before doing anything else or investing in an inexpensive program or making a website or something. And that goes back to the story. No hyphen in the name. And that goes back to the story of that person who was told that she needed to rename her lead magnet before she should do anything else. Now it's like, let me make the stupidest, longest lead magnet name I can think of. And that will make the point.
It made me laugh.
Yeah. And it makes people laugh too. So
yeah. Is that correct? Is that
yes,
correct now?
I'm pretty sure that's correct. And if not, go to guyknowsaguy.com. You can reach me through there. Yes. So, and it goes into the 9 questions as an exercise for each one, how to kind of get your own clarity. And speaking of books and pivots, I should also mention my new book, which is lying next to me here.
Okay. Yes.
Which is called The View from the Deck: Thoughts on Values, Vision, and Gratitude, which I wrote 2 years ago and finally published when I got around to it. And that came about because I was coaching someone and they were telling me that their big vision, question 2, what is your big goal? They wanted to have a nice house with a nice view and a deck out back. And in the morning they go out and they drink their coffee on the deck and enjoy the view. And the next morning I went to my kitchen and made my coffee and then went out on my deck and drank my coffee looking out over the view. And I realized, wow, something in my real life matches one of my clients' 10-year goal dreams. My life is better than I thought it was. And that led me down the journey. So the picture on the book is my smiley face coffee mug on my deck looking out into the woods. And then I published it because I wrote it 2 years ago and I said, it's done. I should actually put it out. And I read back through it and realized it is a deep dive in the first 2 questions of the 9 questions. So themes keep coming back. I wrote it 2 years ago, long before I came up with the questions, and there they are again.
Everything old is new again.
Yes.
That's right. A couple things before we wrap up. I just want to put Toby Staples says, that's me, no email list.
So Toby Staples, yeah. So she's the one I was thinking of when I said some people choose not to have an email list on purpose, but she is one of the top promoters of my summits. That is, of all time, because she just does the work. She reaches out to people, sends out personal invitations. And I'm running an event called the Epic Legendary Summit in October on 10/10, because what other day would I run, the summit for the best of the best than 10 out of 10, where I invited the top promoters from, had 250 people across my stage, 45 summits. And I invited the top promoters. I'm like, why don't I bring the best of the best to one event? And 2 of the people I've invited, one I know doesn't have an email list. One may or may not have one, but didn't use it when he got 116 registrations. My minimum requirement's 10, so 116 is a lot. So yeah, I think the number 1 and I think Toby's like number 7 or 8, don't use email lists because they just use their networks. So yeah, shout out to Toby and thanks for watching.
Thanks, Toby. That is fascinating to me. I'm so happy to hear that. And we'll wrap up with Kathy Music. She's one of our certified product environment specialists. And she says, as Barbara says, together we are better. I can't think of a better way to wrap up than that. So thank you again, Michael. Let's put a couple of links for you guys, and we will put this in the description on our YouTube channel.
Oh, should we share the funny thing too?
Oh yeah, sure. Which one do you want?
I'll do both of them. Yes. So I came across the fact that a lot of programs are called fairly predictable things, like the ultimate transformation generator and the incredible productivity pathway, and there's like a certain 3-word format. So I went to my friend Al, which is what I call AI because it looks like Al, right? I asked Al, I said, Al, could you code me a random name generator for programs? And so we had some fun with that. The what was the other one? Something. Oh, the Evolutionary Transformation Academy. That was another one he gave me. Like they all, you just keep hitting refresh. You'll be like, I'm sure I've heard of all of these.
We can have some fun with this. We can go to that website.
But the other one, which makes me laugh out loud when I use it, is the random excuse generator.
Eds and I are overriding each other. Okay, there we go.
So if you go to guyknowsaguy.com/excuse generator, it will give you the random excuse generator, which has such gems as, I am in the shop. Let's see. My internet connection is out of order because of the time-space continuum. My TV is undergoing maintenance because of the quantum flux. And my personal trainer is having a meltdown due to the latest software update. So if you need an excuse for why you can't make a meeting, or if client ghosts you and you're like, I wonder what happened, just go to the random excuse generator and assume that's the reason.
How fun. I love it. I love it.
My internet connection is on strike due to a pirate invasion. Ed's just put in the private chat there.
We're going to have you back on, Michael. You're a hoot. So thank you for sharing. And I hope everybody will go to your website. I'm going to go and check out this excuse generator for sure. And last but not least, and of course, your lead magnet there, math ebook. That has the 9 questions in it. So I want to be sure we check that out. And then last but not least, we have a webinar coming up, productiveenvironment.com/webinar. And depending on when you're listening to or watching this video, it's either going to be less clutter, more life, or less digital clutter, more life. Either way, we're going to address the clutter in your life. So thank you again, Michael. This was great. And we're going to go ahead and end this live stream. Thanks, everybody. Be sure to check out the links in the description on our YouTube channel. You may be watching us from various places, but please go to look up Productive Environment Institute on YouTube and like this video and subscribe to our channel. We would really, really appreciate that.
Thanks, Michael. It was great to laugh. Laughter is good for business.
Amen
Yes,
to that.
is.
Amen.